And welcome back, everyone, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's Pokemon Team Creation Series suggestion comes to us from Rainbow Prism, who asked the question, what is Garfield's Pokemon team? If our anthropomorphic cat could turn into a anthropomorphic human version of himself, or humanoid version of himself, what would this team look like as a Pokemon trainer? That is the question we have to answer today, folks. Garfield's ones are actually surprisingly a lot easier than a lot of the other ones, because Garfield has a lot of traits that can just translate well into Pokemon teams. So I thought it was just appropriate to start with. One of the big things about Garfield is his laziness. He's also weirdly energetic, though, and spry, despite him being now like 30-something years old as a cat, whatever. Like, if you read the funny pages, which newspapers still exist, he's like 30-some-odd years old, especially in like the canon of his world. But, yeah, he's perfectly lazy, yet at the same time surprisingly energetic. And one of the things he loves to do as a cat and as a lazy bum is sleep. So how about the Pokemon that is always asleep? Komala. With his own little wood pillow there that could honestly represent his Pookie. You know, I didn't even think about that now that I say it aloud. I should have added a Mon that could be Pookie. To be fair, I have a Mon on the team that can kind of be Pookie. Obviously, his Pookie is Pookie is a bear, and I technically don't have a bear on here, but I technically do, which might as well get to that guy, seeing as we're talking about laziness and sleeping. Snorlax. Snorlax technically is based off a bear, but he's a general creature enough that you could say he's something else as well, but he's basically a bear, so I guess you could say this is Pookie. If I were to go back real quick, thinking, and go back through all the bear-based Pokemon we have and say, okay, what would the Pookie of the team be? It'd probably be a Teddiursa. But just because the Teddiursa are cute and adorable and they would look like Pookie. Versus what? We actually don't have a lot of other bear Pokemon when you really break it down. What do we have? We got Snorlax, technically is a bear. We got the Cubchoo line. We have the Teddiursa and Ursaluna line. Beyond that, we're actually stop and think, well, we got Pangoro also, which is a bear. But, I mean, beyond that, we don't really have any bear Pokemon. Bear Pokemon are in very short supply. And then, to be fair, there aren't a lot of variations on bears you could do. I actually have a concept in mind for a bear starter Pokemon, which would be a grass starter based off a sun bear. In India, technically some bears I believe are more like Malaysia, I think it is. I'm going to look that up as I'm talking. I'm going off the rails here, but talking about Pokemon and why I couldn't choose certain things. Sun bears, sun bear animal. Where are they found? I believe it's either India or Malaysia. One are the domain. Where are they? Where are they from? Let's find out, shall we, folks? Sun bears live in I was right. Malayan sun bear and Bornean sun bear. Sun bears are actually more part of Indonesia, southern China, Borneo, stuff like that. I love sun bears actually. They're a fun bear. But I kind of use the sun bear for a concept I had for an Indian based region. Although honestly, I could just say it's a Borneo based or something like Southeast Asian based region instead. But anyway, and before anyone asks, no, I have no intention right now of really making that region, mostly because I don't have the art capabilities of really designing them. I could theoretically commission it, but that would take forever. Anyway, I digress. So, Snorlax would be a bear, I guess. Point being, back on track, another Pokemon that is infamous for taking long naps, but also infamous for its endless appetite, which Garfield is also known for. Sticking to this, we also have Slacking, which is, again, literally a Pokemon cursed with an ability that makes it lazy, but also an extremely powerhouse Pokemon. And Guzzlord, with a Pokemon with an infinite appetite. Like, it can never be satiated. It just continues to consume things. So that you have your core four, but what beyond that? Well, wouldn't be complete without something based on food. And luckily, we have a Pokemon that isn't just food, but it's a dog to represent our good friend pal Odie. Not only is Slurpuff a giant cupcake, which would be right up Garfield's alley, but it's a dopey dog, which means it's well, at least it's supposedly based off a dopey dog. I believe it is, or at least a dog. I believe it's supposed to be, and that works out great. Cupcake dog Odie. There you go. Last but not least, though, this is where I had to think I knew I needed some cat Pokemon on a team. If you can't do any sort of animal-based Pokemon team based off a character, like I couldn't do a Kung Kung Fooey team without a dog on there at some point, which would probably be a Lucario. I couldn't do a Darkwing Duck without a duck or at least bird-based Pokemon on the team. I couldn't do a I think have I done Scooby? I've done Shaggy. Have I done Scooby? But I couldn't do like Courage the Cowardly Dog without a dog-based Pokemon. You get the point. I couldn't do a Garfield team without having a cat on the team. But the question is, we have a large amount of cat Pokemon in this in the Pokemon world now. So what cat Pokemon worked out best? Weirdly enough, from both a design out the standpoint and for other reasons, I went with Berserker. Now, Berserker is a steel-based alternate evolution to Galarian Meowth. It's based off of Vikings. Now, that might not sound like really a good choice, but hey, face-wise, it kind of matches a little bit with Garfield to a degree. It's got those lazy eyes. It's got a mouthful of sharp teeth. Garfield is also very aggressive. He pretty much acts like a dog and attacks the mailman whenever he can. So there is that aspect as well. But also Garfield likes to dress up and fantasize. He's a guy who does have a lot of creativity to him, like when he dresses up on Halloween as a pirate. We see this multiple times in the series. So the idea that he has a Pokemon that's not just a cat, but a cat that likes to cosplay, it kind of works for me a little bit. This leads us all, though, to the final question. In how balanced is this team? So right out the gate, half of this team is straight out immune to ghost types, and then gets cleaved by fighting types. So we got that out of the way. Beyond that, though, seeing as we have one pure steel, one pure fairy, and one dark dragon, how does that affect the typings beyond that? Well, it does actually give this team a stronger advantage over ghost types because of that dark type. So there's that. But that trade-off is Berserker being pure steel, along with Guzzlord having at least part dark, means that fighting types are an extreme problem for this team. Any strong enough fighting move, any strong enough fighting type is going to be a problem. As four of them are just straight out weak, and one of them is Dragon type only saves it so much. The only one who has any sort of advantage in that regard would be Slurpuff, who is obviously a fairy type. Beyond that, there actually isn't many other types that are direct problems for this team. They all have their specific weaknesses. Obviously, you have steel and ground. Steel is weak to ground, fire, and fighting. So you got the other two there, but fire and ground are not going to be problematic for Slurpuff or for Guzzlord. Guzzlord, being a dragon dark type, is going to be quad times weak to fairy, plus still going to have the ice and the dragon weaknesses, but those don't translate over at all to anything else. So that's not going to be that big of an issue. Bug type really isn't even that big of an issue because of the dragon. Then you got Slurpuff, who is weak to steel and poison predominantly. And yeah, none of those are big issues. Hell, you got one guy who's immune to it in Berserker. So yeah, there really isn't many types that are a problem for this team. The only two big ones are going to be fighting. And actually, yeah, that's pretty much it. The only big one is going to be fighting. Fighting is really the only type that really cleaves through a giant chunk of this team. And even the one guy on the team who isn't weak to fighting, is actually strong against fighting, isn't all that strong of a Pokemon. Now, that being said, even though fighting does cleave through a giant portion of this team, you would need a very powerful fighting type to do it, as both Slacking, and Guzzlord are giant tanks. They can take a lot of damage and dish it back. So even though they do have a weakness to fighting, and even though fighting is the main problem this team is going to have to deal with, they still got enough power behind them that they could probably take out a portion of the team, a fighting type team that is hurting them back. Either way, this is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you folks for the next one. Have a good one.